Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Pink Edit podcast hosted by yours truly, Anna. Hello everyone, how is everyone doing? So this is episode 11. Can't believe it's already come to that many episodes already of this podcast. So obviously we have one more episode before the end of the season. But today I wanted to kind of open up and talk about bullying. So if any of stuff mentioned in this topic today is triggering or anything, please take care of yourselves. Always make sure to take care of yourself. So if it does trigger you, come back to the next episode. Of course, like many people have experienced bullying, some more severe than others, and some are just like on very, I guess, like different topics or like things why they get bullied for. But also some of you who might be listening used to be a bully. Of course, like to be bullied and to be the bully obviously is two different views, and just obviously like two different experiences. I thought I would talk about this today because honestly I actually just gone back down talking about my experiences with my dad actually the other day, and I actually have not talked about it openly or freely very often, like actually because it was so kind of like a traumatic, like quite a really bad experience for me. I never really kind of gone back down to that place in my life. I know this kind of relates back to the mental health episode because obviously like the aftermath of experiencing everything, that's literally like why mental health is so important. But I think today we're going to talk about obviously like my experiences, which I obviously have mentioned in the mental health episode, but we'll also be talking about how to kind of spot signs, how to kind of call it out, and just like even like workplace bullying, because unfortunately, even though everyone, especially like I would say kind of like a corporate or like HR stuff like that, it's kind of sad that grown ass adults you know, like still do this. It's like they never grow out of it. It seems like bullying personally seems such a childish thing. Like that's the thing where like most people never talk about is the corporate and workplace. So today we'll be talking about those and just also signs to look out for, but also being that person that does not have the witness kind of mentality with just the passerby effect. So let's get into this episode. Obviously I'm just going to repeat some of my experiences from the mental health episode, but for me, I have obviously experienced a lot of bullying, specifically racial bullying, of course, but I actually never really talked about this, but I have been a bit like skinny shamed before within obviously the Chinese community, because that is one kind of, in a sense, beauty standard in Asia, is to be like extremely skinny, but at the same time, even if you're skinny, you're still going to be shamed for it at the same time. So I'm just going to quickly brief over the racial bullying. So I actually never really experienced it very much when I used to live in the city. So from when I was born until like just before 11 years old, I lived in the city. I was born there. And although it's such like a multicultural like place in the UK, still experienced a little bit of it. But at that time, I actually didn't really know what racial bullying was or just what racism was, because obviously my parents never really told me about it, but also like I just never really experienced it, so there was not much for me to need to worry. I just remember this one kid who's in the year below me, but we used to have like mixed maths like classes, so I'd be in that quote unquote higher level maths. This was like mixture between year 3 and 4s, and so this kid, obviously he's white. I used to get a lot of the Chinese, Japanese, what are these Christmas trees where you pull the eyes, of course. But at the time, I just thought it was actually literally like just a little rhyme. Just like I did not think it was racism whatsoever. So honestly, I personally feel like that kind of protected me a bit. But luckily at the time, my friends from that primary school actually stood up for me. So I actually didn't really have to worry so much. They like, I guess we were kind of friends, but also like at the same time, I wasn't insanely close with all of them, but they still decided to stand up for me just because like this school is also very multicultural as well. Because I went to a Catholic primary school. I'm not like religious or anything, but it was a really good primary school. So my mum transferred me over to that primary school. And obviously there's like loads of people of color in that school. So obviously like they probably knew what racism was because they probably faced a lot more than I did at the time, because my family used to just kind of revolve around the Chinese community anyways. So yeah, I was very lucky in that aspect. But things obviously went downhill after I moved away from 11 until like literally even now. I still live in the same like place, but I live in the country, like more of like the countryside ish. And obviously I finished primary school, like the last, I think, 5 months of it in the primary school where I live now. And like the racism in primary schools and secondary schools are so different. What I received in the primary school here was like, they kept shoving me the pinky finger because for some reason, I don't know why, but white people really like to think that showing the pinky finger to me is Chinese swearing. You know how like the middle finger means fuck you? For some reason, I never heard of it before ever until I came to the primary school here. But when I look back on it, primary school one is just funny because they're just so stupid. But yeah, I always got the pinky finger shoved in my face, go, oh, Chinese swearing. So yeah, I don't even know where they got that from, because universally, like even in China, the middle finger means fuck you. The only meaning that I know from the pinky finger being shoved in my face was saying that the dick was small. So yeah, I don't know. Okay, that was what it was at the time. I did get a few eye pulls because at that time then I knew like pulling eyes was like a racist action, but it didn't really kind of bothered me much because it wasn't a thing that was every day, but they kind of just did it as jokes and it wasn't as serious. I know like racism in general is supposed to be taken very seriously, but just I think as kids there was just a different mentality and view to it, and like compared to like especially secondary school here in the UK. But of course back to when I started year 7, obviously as mentioned before, I had really bad thoughts from literally the beginning of year 7 until up to Christmas time. I can't, like, even when I think about it now, I can't believe I've ever had those thoughts, and I can't believe I had to experience that at a really young age, because it's kind of insane that, you know, the bullies think it's okay to do these things to people, but then when someone actually follows through with those types of thoughts then, and they're like, oh no, I didn't, when it's blamed on you, you know a life is in your hands. That life that ended is in your hands. You got their blood all over their hands, because at the end of the day, bullying is like, you know, I think as like very young kids, it's more like, you can't play with me, blah blah blah, whatever, something stupid. But when you get to secondary school, it gets so much more serious, and I cannot for the life of me think of why it's okay to go bully people. So yeah, that was my experience with racial bullying. It was like coming from, I think, in total there was like 3 kids, and are we surprised that they were all boys? But the skinny shaming actually was because when I was younger, I actually didn't gain that much weight, and I did ballet, which, I mean, outside of ballet, I'm not a very sporty person. I can't run for my life. I can't lift heavy things for my life. Honestly, like, I'm such a weak person. But I think with obviously like more interest in Asian culture nowadays, a lot more people know that part of the beauty standards in Asia as a whole is to be like super skinny. And when I tell you I was like insanely skinny, like, you know how you can wrap like fingers around your wrists? People used to be able to do that around my bicep area because I was like extremely skinny. And no, before anyone says I was not starving myself, I actually overate so much. There was at one point where I was eating like 5 bowls of rice for dinner because I was always so hungry, but my metabolism was so fast that it was just technically it was like burning while I was eating. So yeah, honestly, I promise you, I was not starving myself. It's literally my metabolism was so fast. And so yeah, I was extremely skinny when I was very young. And I remember this one person that we all know. She was like my friend's auntie or whatever. And the Chinese community in this city kind of like usually revolves around like the Chinese church. It was like a Chinese Christians church. And on Sundays they used to have like a little get together or a childcare thing for like 2-3 hours. So I remember going there with obviously my mother and my brother, and she came up to me because obviously my parents know her, and she literally was squeezing my arms, like the bicep area. She said to me, "Did your mum feed you?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" Because I had like literally the night before I had like 4 bowls of rice. Like, I wasn't joking. I was like, I ate so much for dinner last night, and like literally the other week I ate 5 bowls of rice. And then she walked up to my mum and says, "Did you feed your daughter?" And my mum goes, "Yeah, she's been eating freaking everything in the house." "What do you mean have I fed my daughter?" I literally got, that's like, when I look back at it now, it's so crazy because like if you're too overweight, they're gonna shit on you for being overweight. But then when you're skinny, they don't like it, so then they shame you for being skinny. And honestly, it's kind of crazy, but I actually haven't gotten much like weight bullying, if that makes sense, like about my weight or anything. When I was at my part-time job though at uni, because I know the people who work there, like the long-term adults there, one of them, she's not a really nice person in general anyways, but out of nowhere I was minding my own business doing like whatever I had to do in the kitchen, right? She goes, "Did you gain weight?" And I was like, "No, I've just been the same." She was like, "Oh, your face is a bit rounder and pudgier. I thought you gained weight." It's like, bitch, nobody likes you, leave me alone. Honestly, nowadays when it comes to bullying, or like even sly comments or rage baiting, like not joking rage baiting, but dead ass like bullying rage baiting, I can't be asked anymore about it. So I'm actually quite grateful that I actually just don't care about comments anymore. But yeah, that was like just a over summary of like my bullying experiences. So yeah, but unfortunately, at school specifically, when I had racial bullying, none of my friends ever stood up for me. Ever. Because I went to school for sixth form as well, which for those who don't know, that's like A levels, and that's 2 years. Luckily, I didn't really get racial bullying in sixth form. It was only specifically between year 7 to year 11. Especially the first 3 years of secondary school. My friends never stood up for me when I got racially bullied at all. Not a single one. They literally were the silent witnesses that would never say anything. And then when I told my parents about it, because not including the first instance from like September to December of year 7, the other instances I told my parents. I did tell them when I got bullied. They're like, "Oh, go and tell a teacher, and if you had any witnesses, ask them if they could be your witness." And I asked these people to be my witnesses, and guess what they said? I think so. I'm not being funny, bitch. You were literally stood in the same room staring at me when I was getting bullied, but you don't want to say anything? 'Cause what? You're scared? Hello, I'm twice as scared as you because they're singling me out. I was the only Chinese kid in that school until I was in year 10. 4 years. And you're scared to be a witness? Hello? Are you joking? And this one thing has actually pissed me off so much about like bullying, or if anything goes wrong, or like, you know, getting harassed or anything, even in public, like when I see those videos and you just have those people, like say on the underground or something, and they just watch it happen, they don't say anything, they don't protect the victim, it actually gets on my nerve. And I get so annoyed, because how the fuck is it okay for that person to get away with harassing, bullying, hurting somebody else, and you're just stood there? There's literally, like, I can't think of one actual good thing why you should just have that, like, mentality of just, like, stood like a, I don't remember the name of it. I'm sure some of you remember it. I can't remember it at the moment, but it's just, how can you just be a witness, be there, and not say anything? If someone is hurting, you should be able to stand up, because at the end of the day, right, you know what's right from wrong. And especially if somebody's getting, like, hurt physically, they cannot be protecting themselves, especially if they're women. I'm not being funny, and I'm not trying to be sexist, but women are generally weaker than men, and there is much more, like, urgency to protect them. And personally, as coming from a woman who cannot protect herself for shit, honestly, like, if someone hurt me, I'm not strong enough to say hurt somebody back. I would actually appreciate so much if somebody helped me, and I never got that. And that's why, personally, to say, in the friendship department, I actually do not give a fuck if I end up not being friends with somebody, because for so long, every time I get bullied and I actually have friends there as witnesses, or, like, you know, they're in the room, they see it, they don't say anything. Like, what type of person are you to not say anything? Whether, even if, for example, somebody that I don't like is getting, like, bullied or something, I'm not just gonna stand there, because it literally, like, it is also, like, the feeling of embarrassment to be bullied in front of everybody else is kind of like a feeling that a lot of people don't say. But yeah, personally, to say, like, getting bullied in front of so many people as well is such a big embarrassed feeling. And, you know, when I get embarrassed, like, I could feel my face getting hot, my face is red, you know, my whole body is burning with embarrassment, like, seriously physically burning with embarrassment. And how I just get so annoyed. I cannot stress this enough. I get so annoyed that people literally in the same fuck ass room as me cannot, for the life of them, for some reason, back me up. I thought we were friends, and that's a more, like, annoying ass, like, behavior besides the actual bullying me, is that people who want to be my friends, people who call me their friends or my friends, whatever, you cannot stand up for me when I get bullied. Are you serious? Because if nobody ever confronts the bullies, even, for example, you are the witness and you don't say anything because you're scared they're going to bully you too. I'm not being funny, because you haven't confronted someone, or you haven't put them in their place. At some point, they will end up bullying you, whether you like it or not, or whether you're a different race or whatever, because they will find something else to bully you for. And that's, like, such a serious, like, such an actual thing. And it's crazy. This is why I don't talk to a lot of people from school anymore. That I will not, you know, even if they come back to message me going like, hey, how are you? I would not, because what makes you think I still want to be friends with you if you can't back me up if I need that help, but they expect me to give them the help? Absolutely no, not. Take that and shove it your ass and go away. I cannot be asked. And unfortunately, bullying will literally continue into adulthood if especially bullies do not get, like, put in their place, get told off or whatever, to tell them to change their attitudes and shit. Because I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this, but corporate bullies are a thing. And, you know, you will, even if you say, oh, if I don't have friends now, I'll make friends in my job, especially if it's corporate. I'm not being funny, nobody's friends there, because they will backstab you like hell just so that they can have a promotion. And I think that's actually quite a sad thing in general, because instead of just, wanting to mind your own business or something, they will still end up targeting you. And it's kind of sad that they can't keep to themselves and they can't like shut up for even 2 seconds about it. And the difference between like adult bullying and, schoolyard bullying is like how they micromanage you, they exclude you. They do a lot of reporting to HR. That's a lot that I've heard from stories, is that like they always email HR, or if you have managers, they'll email their managers and carbon copy you into the email, knowing that even if personally, if you've done nothing wrong, but they still pick something, that's bullying. And honestly, that's such a waste of resources, and you're wasting your time. Instead of actually putting effort in so that you can get that promotion, you're too busy harassing everybody else. And this is why I think, especially when it comes to corporate jobs, a lot of people quit. Like, seriously, if you're a company always posting job like applications on LinkedIn, Indeed, especially if it's a corporate one, right, and they quit, there is a lot of investigation you have to go into, because corporate bullying should not be brushed off as like, oh, it's like regular school bullying. It's not, because they're wasting your resources, they're wasting time, and they're wasting your money, because you're paying them just so that they're not doing the work, and they're literally just harassing your other workers that you're paying. Why are you paying somebody who's producing less work and the quality of work is shit compared to somebody who's minding their own business? But in general, even saying that, companies are bullies too. We all know that, because they have too much money and they don't care. So yeah, unfortunately, bullying will technically always be there. It's so hard for, especially like, to kind of avoid any of it, because even if you try to mind your own business, avoid it, they're still going to be harassing you, because unfortunately some people are so damn miserable, even on social media. Like, obviously I do social media as well. Luckily I haven't had that like quote unquote hate or internet like online bullying from doing social media yet. I know that at some point there's still gonna be something, because you can't please everybody, and I know that there's gonna always be a group of people that is gonna not like you, and at the end of the day I'm quite content with that, because I don't need everyone to like me. But luckily, I would say within the last couple of years, especially like during university, it wasn't really bullying, but it was definitely kind of like, how do I say it? It's like, it was actually kind of singling me out a bit, even though it was not flat out like bullying or anything. It did piss me off, and I confronted the people, but that shit don't work, because apparently they forgot what I said the first time, and they were back to it the next literal week or so. So that was fun. So yeah, personally to say, I don't have many friends. I'm actually quite content with that. But even if I end up with no friends, I'm also okay with that, because at the end of the day, the only people who are going to be there for the rest of my life through all ups and very much downs is going to be my parents and maybe my brother, but he's also got his own life to worry about now. But yeah, I know for a fact my parents are always going to be there, and I'm very lucky that I have both parents to be there for me when I need, a shoulder to lean on or any help or whatever it is. And I'm actually really grateful that, they're not like those very classic Asian parents where like they want you to be a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer. They let me choose what I want to do and what I want to be, which is obviously really, really grateful for. But yeah, overall, I've actually just kind of grown a mentality of leave me alone, and also like I don't give a poop. Because honestly, unfortunately, even if you confront people, they'll never change. If you can match them like that, then fair enough, but that's not my type of people, and I don't find fun in singling people out, really, or, being slightly nasty to someone, because, if you find fun in that, that's really sad of you too. But personally, I'm just pretty content with being by myself. This is also why I did an episode of, solitude versus loneliness, because obviously when I was younger, loneliness was such a big, I guess, like, insecurity of mine, because I didn't want to be viewed as a loner or anything. But now I don't care. I fully accepted, being by myself, even like, I don't need to have plans to go out all the time to feel content with myself, or feel like, oh, I've done nothing, I've succeeded in nothing. The thing I've succeeded is not giving a fuck, and I am not serious about it, honestly. But honestly, yeah, bullying's definitely shaped the person who I am now, and obviously with the support of my parents, how I navigate it. But nowadays, honestly, I'm more obviously still gonna be a bit on edge about racial bullying, just for the fact that, like, suddenly Asian culture and products are being highly consumed nowadays because of K-pop, anime, makeup, skincare, stuff like that. It's always going to annoy me that people will always going to be racist towards Asian people, but they still want to, like, indulge in our products and our culture. Personally, to say you cannot be enjoying a culture created by the people you dislike. You can't treat the people like poo. If you want to go to China, to Japan, to Korea, whatever, because it literally is so counterproductive. It's so, like, you're just being such a hypocrite. That's what I was trying to say. It's like, you're such a hypocrite, personally, to say. And yeah, I just don't understand how you can be so horrible towards the group of people that created things and the culture that you so want to indulge. And it's kind of crazy. But honestly, like, even talking about, like, oh, if I wanted to avoid all this racial bullying, go back to China, go back to Hong Kong, even then I still probably would get bullied, just because I'm not fully quote unquote Chinese or Hong Kong, because I was born in the UK. I've only really experienced how it's like living and growing up in Wales and not China, so it's much more different. Even if my blood is fully like Chinese, Malaysian, Hong Kong, like, my blood, there's no proper Welsh, English, British, Western blood in my veins, right? I will still get bullied even if I ever moved back when I was younger, because I can't speak Mandarin properly, I can't speak Cantonese properly, and I'm quite a picky eater, which in comparison to, like, your average Chinese person, they eat a lot more stuff that I eat, because obviously I view that stuff as gross, but they view that stuff as food. So yeah, honestly, I know personally, as like a mixed culture kid, you can't win, even as like a mixed race, I'm not mixed race, but mixed race kids, or even just like kids who weren't born in quote unquote the country that is their nationality, those kids will always face like much more like questioning about their identity, just because even if quote unquote they said they want to avoid the racial bullying in the West, when they go back to their home country, sometimes they also will face bullying for not being fully that type of person, So yeah, I had a thought about it too when I was younger, that I wanted to go back to China and be there, but I know for a fact that even if I went there, I would still get bullied. So there's no win-win situation in this. But honestly, the only thing I want you guys to take from this episode, the message, is that if you are a witness to bullying, to anything, please don't just stand there and watch. actually go and do something. Go and stand up for that person. Go and comfort that person, because literally, like I said, coming from somebody who never got that, the embarrassment, but then also the absolute, like, not rage anymore, but just getting pissed off from like calling, like, to think your friends, quote unquote, called friends, don't do anything is crazy. Why, in this society where there's already enough negativity in this world, let somebody just suffer that in silence? It's really not a good thing. So, like I said, just please stand up to a victim of bullying, of harassment, whether this is in school, in a work, or just out in public going along with your day. You're just out for whatever. If someone is getting harassed or anything, just please go and help them, because they're also trying to go on with their day and they're getting harassed by probably most likely strangers. So yeah, just please go and stand up. And to bullies, you're achieving nothing. There's a lot more things in this world that is so much more like important than your opinion and your like views of somebody. Like, if you don't like someone, you don't like someone, that's it. Don't go and harass somebody. It doesn't change anything. And to be honest, I feel like there's no way you're feeling much better after hurting somebody, whether physically or verbally or mentally. Yeah, there's just, personally, to say you just look stupid